little shorter, I guess. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to be with you all, and I'm excited when it was announced Sharks, there was an enthusiastic round of applause, for me to come up here and speak to you all today. As was noted, I am the education director here at the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. So normally I speak to children, so I'm a little nervous. I have room for adults and everything. This is a little different for me today. But again, I want to thank the Cape Cod Chamber and the Plymouth Chamber for having me here to speak with you all today. As was noted, the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy is a nonprofit organization based here on Cape Cod. And we are actually just celebrating our 10th anniversary as a nonprofit organization. So it was a really exciting year for us this past year. And we work in 3 areas. So we have a research division. We are out there trying to answer those tough questions about white shark population, white shark behavior, their predatory habits. We also then take that information and we have a public safety arm. So everything that we are learning about these white sharks, we are then sharing with the Cape Cod National Seashore, the local towns. We're part of a regional Cape Shark working group here on the Cape. We're also engaging with the South Shore as well, since the sharks do go into Cape Cod Bay. We know about activity off of some of those South Shore beaches as well, so we're engaging with the South Shore. So everything that we're learning, we're sharing with the folks who are actually managing those beaches. And we're also working to share it with all of you, the public, right? And that's where our education arm comes in, where we're trying to work with all ages and engage people and really communicate the science and explain what is happening and why it's so important that it's happening, and the opportunity that we have here off the coast of Cape Cod. These white sharks, for as much as we talk about them being Cape Cod white sharks, they're not local just to Cape Cod. They're part of the Northwest Atlantic population. We know that they're traveling as far north as Canada and as far south as Florida, okay? We talk about them being here in this area because this is where we have the opportunity to actually study them. We have reliable access to the white sharks off our coastline here, giving us access to have those ongoing research projects take place. We don't have that access in other parts of the Northwest Atlantic. So it really is an opportunity that we have here. But we also acknowledge that, white sharks in Cape Cod are becoming very known. I mean, how many of you have friends or family that are calling you in the summer months because they have questions about the white sharks that they've seen on the news? Right? How can I not see my I should be seeing more hands than that, right? Or how many of you, can actually remember a time when the 4th of July would come across and the headline isn't just about the fireworks, but it's also about the white sharks off of Cape Cod, right? Our media folks, Pierce Cote, are here today, and I think Jeff gets nervous every time we get closer to Memorial Day because the phone starts ringing more and more with the news reporters who are looking to cover that story about the white sharks as we go into the summer months. But what we are seeing as an organization is that the white sharks are becoming a draw for tourism. And we're seeing this in a few different ways through the avenues that we are working with the public. More and more people are coming here because they have questions about white sharks and they're trying to learn more about them, or because they want an opportunity to see a great white shark in its natural habitat, and they've learned that they can come to Cape Cod and they can do that. So one of the areas in which we are working to engage the public is through our Shark Center museums. So we now have 2 of these facilities. Our first one in Chatham actually opened in 2016. And what you can actually see here is that visitor data looking at that increase. As time has gone on, we see more and more visitors each and every year. I think we all know what happened in 2020, right? We had some capacity limits in place that year. And then as we went into 21 and 22, what we were actually starting to see is our building, just like any building, has a fire code and has a capacity. We were actually turning visitors away. People who saw the Shark Center as a day trip destination or wanted to come and see us as part of their vacation. They wanted to ask their questions. They wanted to learn more. And we didn't have the capability to actually engage them because of the size of our facility. So in 2022, we actually opened a second facility in Provincetown, looking to try to create another space where we could engage all of those visitors and those folks who are looking to learn or looking to just, find that information, as they were coming here. So in last year, with our first year of operation, With our Shark Center Provincetown Museum, we saw just under 5,000 visitors at that location, and we are expecting that number to grow in the coming years as that facility continues to become more well-known. And so when folks are coming, what is it that they're looking for when they come to these museums? I will admit, for some, especially in the summer, if it's a rainy day, it's parents looking to engage their kids on a rainy day. Absolutely, right? But for a lot of other folks, as I said, we're a day trip destination. They saw on the news about white sharks, and they had questions. The news media is great, and they talk about it a lot, but they only give a small snippet. So we have a lot of people who are then coming in, and they want to know more. They want to know, well, how does this tag work? Or what does it mean when one has been spotted in this area? Or, we live on the South Shore. What's the activity taking place up off that area? So a lot of people coming for that target, looking to have their questions asked. And it is a lot of families. Kids love sharks, okay? They're super excited about them. We find it a little bit amusing because if you grew up in the Jaws generation, a lot of the adults are scared of sharks, right? That movie definitely had a lasting impact. However, this next generation, movie cinema is a whole other element now. We have a lot of kids who come in and right off the bat, they know that Jaws is fake. They know that that shark wasn't real. They can see it from the differences in, what has changed with cinema. So we have families, and that's an interesting take. When the kids are super excited, and the parents, they want to learn the safety information because they want to know what they need to know if they're going to be taking their children to the beaches. And one of the most asked questions for a lot of the visitors who actually come to our museums, they're looking at us and they're saying, well, where do I go now to see one? What beach can I go to? Where do I need to stand so I can actually see one swimming off of the shoreline? So one of the other avenues that we are working in is to actually provide that opportunity for folks to be able to see great white sharks right there in our natural habitat. And so we have a white shark charter operation where we are actually taking folks out. We put a plane up that will actually spot to try to find the sharks. We're trying to be minimally invasive to the animal. So the plane will fly, and once they spot a shark, they radio the boat, and the boat will come up, and so folks can then observe the shark from the boat swimming in its natural habitat. And as you can see here from the data, that program started in 2018, and it has just continued to grow every year. And every year, we're looking for more partners and collaborators to work with us to meet the demand of people who are coming here from around the world, because they now know that the Cape is a place where they can come to observe white sharks in their natural habitat. And this past year, we weren't the only ones out there. This is definitely a growing industry. A lot of folks are now out there with their vessels, with planes, and they are spotting. We knew of 9 other companies this past year, and we do expect that number to grow as we go into this upcoming year. And when we have folks out there on the water, a big part for us is to educate them, right? It's one thing to see the shark, but then we want to make sure that they're getting accurate information about that shark. They're learning about the science. They're learning about how they can then leave that day, and they can be an advocate for shark conservation and ocean conservation as a whole. As was just noted, everything in our ocean environment is connected, and our land environment is absolutely connected to that ocean environment. So when we have folks going out there to have this opportunity, we are working with them to try to create more stewards for our environment as we're working with them. And one of the big points for a lot of folks when they are out there on this vessel that they're surprised by is a white shark charter is not like a whale watch. We're not going out to Stellwagen Bank. We're not even going 5 miles offshore. The research has actually now shown that when white sharks are in this region, they're spending about 50% of their time in 15 feet of water or less. And so folks are seeing that. These pictures show, right, that shark, that boat, it's not far off our recreational beaches. And so this then also engages a lot of those charter guests in that public safety conversation and talking about how they can leave that day and not just be an advocate, but also from the conservation standpoint, but an advocate for how others can be shark smart and realizing about the shark activity off of our coastline. Too fast. The tourism industry geared around wildlife is a growing industry. And we do have this opportunity in this region. You know, I'm here talking about the white sharks, but think of all the incredible wildlife we have off our coastline here and people who are coming. I mean, we take it for granted. I mean, I'm a shark person, but when we take people out, they're just as excited to see the seals as they are, as we're going out to see the sharks. We always laugh because we're not even out of Chatham Harbor yet, and they get their cameras and they're going nuts on the seals. And we're like, oh wow, we haven't even gotten to the big predators yet. But so with all of the wildlife that we have here, we have people, as I said, who are coming to this region to be able to see it, whether it's the sharks, the whales, the seals. And so that conservation messaging, the Conservancy is working with the other nonprofits working with these various species to make sure, as we're engaging with different people, we're able to then advocate for all of those species. And again, how they're all connected and working to help one is going to be helping to work to connect to help all of them. And we have people who are following this work, and as I said, coming to observe this work from all over. So if you look at our social media reach, with over 245,000 followers on Facebook alone, and you can see that global reach. So people are becoming more aware about the work that is happening here through the research and the conservation efforts. But again, they're also learning about how this is a place where they can come to see white sharks. As I noted before, our charters are having guests come in from around the world to actually take part in one of those charters and see white sharks in their natural habitat. We also offer a program with Whale and Dolphin Conservation where we charter whale watching boats to go out and try to see the white sharks from a larger vessel. That one is then a per ticket opportunity for families to go on. We have families who fly in from across the country, and we now have families who are flying in every year to go on that trip from various parts of the country. So people are looking at what's happening here, both through Facebook and on Instagram. We have a growing reach of followers, and I did put the Cape Cod Chamber stats on there just to give that perspective of how much our social media following has grown and how many people are looking at what is taking place here in terms of that opportunity to be able to learn and see white sharks in their natural habitat. And we are really striving to work with folks who maybe don't want to learn about sharks, but it's important that they're aware about the white shark activity here off our coastline. So if they're not coming to us, we are doing our best effort to go to them. So we have the Shark Smart Beach program, where this is our boots on the ground. We are in the Cape Cod National Seashore. We are at Nauset Beach. We are there engaging the public and making ourselves available to answer those questions. Because how many of you guys have seen that nice big shark warning sign when you walk down towards the beach? It often leaves you asking some questions, right? Should I be here today? Should I have just paid that $25 to park, right? So we're then there for those people who, maybe came here and weren't aware of the reality about the white sharks off our coastline. We want to share with them the resources that we have, and as I said, make ourselves available. And if we're not able to be there with them, again, that science communication piece, the other way we're really working to engage with the public is through our Sharktivity app, which now has over 750,000 downloads. So this is one of the ways in which we are sharing white shark sightings. If a shark is tagged, it's also sharing that detection data with people. So you can pull out your phone, and if you're taking a trip to the beach, you can try to look at what recent shark activity might have been like, and you can make that decision about where you feel comfortable using the water recreationally. So this is another tool that we are using to try to share that information, and again, just engage with the public. The other piece I wanted to share with you all is, what is it we're telling them, right? We're sharing the research information. We're trying to educate the public. Again, we're answering a lot of questions. Some of those big ones being, has there been a shark off this beach today or recently? Or again, where can I go to see a white shark? How big are these sharks that are off your coastline? For some folks, as was noted before, there are over 400 known species of shark. The news often just says shark. We have had people who were doing a whole program and then they're like, oh wait, so we're really talking about great white sharks here, right? We're not talking about the blue sharks, the makos. So even just answering that and articulating the difference between a white shark and other species, so people realize, what it is that we're talking about, being in that area of the recreational swim zones off our beaches, educating that side of it as well. We also have a strong public safety messaging campaign, and we call those our Shark Smart talking points or the Shark Smart messaging, where we really want people to make sure when you go to the beach, it's important you stop at that sign and you read that information. You make yourself aware of the wildlife that is present off that beach. How many of you like to go up to New Hampshire or Maine and go hiking in the White Mountains? Before you go on any trail, are you looking at the weather? Are you reading those trail signs and making yourself aware about what could be present? You need to do the same thing if you go to the beaches. You are going to a wild area. And so we try to put that perspective in it for folks, and remind them, you are entering into the water, you're going into a wild area. You need to take that moment and educate yourself about what can be present. Another big part that we get asked and that we try to communicate to people, everyone asks, well, how far offshore can I swim? It has nothing to do with distance to shore. The recommendation now is that you're always in waist-deep water. Because if you've been to Nauset Beach, you can take one step and be ankle deep. You can take the next step and it's over your head because of those troughs. So the distance from shore really isn't something we want folks thinking about. We want them thinking about depth. Again, our research shows that when they're in this region, they're in about 15 feet of water or less. And a lot of you, I saw the look on your face when I shared that state previously, right? That's one that really puts it into perspective for people. So sharing that science with folks helps them to understand and think about how they want to use the water recreationally. The biggest one that might seem like common sense, but it's not that way for everyone, you want to stay away from the seals, right? That is one of the primary food sources for these white sharks off our coastline. I know for some, they look cute, they look engaging. No, right? We just want to make sure we stay a nice, clear distance away from the shark's diet. But that's another big reminder one that we want to have with the public. And a big part of that, too, is they're wild animals as well. They're unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do. So, sharing that information. So the public safety is a huge part of what we're engaging the public in. The other part is that conservation messaging. White sharks are an apex predator, meaning they're at the top of our ocean food chain. So they play that critical role in helping to maintain a balance of our ocean food web from the top down. They also just play a critical role in the fact that they're connected to a lot of other living things. And I think that's going to be a theme here today, right? Everything is connected, and we need all the living things in our ocean to be operating, fulfilling what it is, right, that they need to fulfill as their niche in the ecosystem. If we don't have it all out there working at the appropriate population levels, that's where we're going to see things start to take a turn for the negative. So we talk about it from the white shark standpoint, but absolutely, it's not just the white sharks. It's everything out there in our ocean working together to create that healthy ecosystem. So engaging folks in that conservation messaging. And as I bring it to a close today, I think that that's where, I was excited to be a part of this conference today and to see all the different speakers and to talk about the different wildlife, the different industries, because this is where we can all work together, right? And reminding the folks that we're working with in these different industries about how everything is connected, how what we do on land is connected to the sea, right? The living things on land are connected to the living things in the sea. And so having all of these things and having them all working at the right levels and fulfilling their functions and having us all work together in those conservation efforts is what will help to have that strong and lasting impact. So again, I truly want to thank you all for having me here today. I do love talking about sharks. Do I have time for questions or? No? Sorry, I'll be around if anyone has questions after this. Come and find me and we can talk more about sharks. Thank you so much.